Welcome to the channel. The game Everspace 2 has been on Steam sale for the past week or so. I originally had this game on PlayStation 5, and when it went on sale on Steam, I figured, oh, it's a nice time to get the PC version so I can have it on a nice portable device. So, we're going to take a look at how Everspace 2 performs on Steam Deck OLED and the MSI Claw, the Ultra 5 version. As you can see, I've put a little time into Everspace since I got it on Steam sale. This has only been a few days. So put a little bit of time in, having fun, basically restarting a new ship and playing through the campaign, trying to get have a goal here of upgrading my ship twice before unlocking the next system, and I have enough money now. If it will just give me the right ship, I'll be good to go. But Everspace 2 is a space sim with some frankly pretty excellent combat, and there is a trading system for you to earn money in addition to just shooting down other ships. There's various activities you can do to earn money to upgrade your ship. Your ship is highly customizable. You can do pretty much anything to it. It's a bunch of different ship classes. And if you're into space sims, since I bought it twice, I'm obviously going to do this, but I'm going to highly recommend Everspace 2 if you're into space sims. So let's take a look at how this is going to perform on these two devices here. First up, let's look at the Steam Deck OLED. So, Steam Deck OLED is this is set to, let's see if I still have the same settings. I'm just using the maximum performance settings here. And so basically no frame limit, no TDP limit. So trying to get this to run as fast as we can, FSR scaling. And ideally, we'd want to be able to run this at 60 frames per second. But let's see how the Steam Deck does on this game.
Take care of this emitter. Wouldn't want innocents to get hurt. This will be their last trap. guys are history. Hell of a setup they have here.
So, looking at the deck's performance here, I'm not really able to get a steady 60 frames per second here. The game can reach 60 frames per second in some of the areas when there's not a whole lot going on screen, particularly in some parts of space where there's not a whole lot of stuff there. You saw the settings in the gameplay video. Pretty much everything is set on low here, just to make sure the frame rate's up. And frankly, the high graphics doesn't necessarily matter that much on a small screen, but it would have been nice to have the frame rate up. I wouldn't say that Everspace 2 is not playable on the Steam Deck, because I think you can get a pretty good experience out of this by using the frame rate lock on, so your frame limit on the deck, maybe adjust this to 45 frames a second, and it seems to be able to hit that a lot, although there's places where this will slow down because some of the areas are quite detailed, but I think setting it at 45 frames per second and just locking the frame limit that way will probably get you a pretty good experience here. It's certainly playable, and it's playing above 30 frames a second. I mean, you could put it on 30, but it seems kind of disappointing to play it, the space sim here at 30 frames per second in 2024. But so we can't quite get the 60 frames per second out of the Steam Deck, but we can get, in the 40s, which is okay enough to play this game, certainly on a portable. Unfortunately, the Steam Deck doesn't really benefit from plugging it in, so it doesn't get the boost that an Ally or the MSI Claw can get by plugging it in. So that's pretty much it. What you see is what you get on the Steam Deck. Up next is the MSI Claw, the Intel Core Ultra 5 version, so the cheaper one. Pricing wise, this is actually pretty similar to the low-end Ally now, because there's been some price drops. There's been a good bit of sales, and you could probably pick this up if you look around. Of course, the suggested retail price of this thing is absurd, so definitely don't pick it up for that, but you could probably pick this handheld up at a significantly lower price than the Steam Deck OLED. Now, of course, this doesn't have an OLED screen, but how well does it run Everspace 2? So I pretty much had this set to performance mode here. Not a lot of other adjustments on this end. The software on the Claw doesn't really let you do a whole lot of adjustments on the speed here, but putting it on maximum performance. Now, the video for gameplay for this game is, I've recorded it on battery, but the Claw actually does benefit from plugging it in. But this footage that you're going to see here is from the Claw on battery power. So let's take a look at Everspace 2 running on the Claw.
Here we go. Looks like I've got company. Please, my ship is damaged. I'll see what I can do. They're on to me. Come around. Man, you are like my guardian angel. I do what I can for a fellow traveler.
Can't do this without shields.
Let's get started then. This area's clear, but there's more to go. That's that. Hello? This Nefty station?
You're speaking to Nefty Station?
Job's complete.
Good.
I want my payment.
Signature's fine. Here you go.
So on battery power, the Claw can hit 60 frames per second in this game. Of course, we're using low settings here because we're trying to maximize the frame rate. Can hit 60 frames per second for most of the game that I've seen so far without too much trouble running on battery. Now, you don't see it in the video, but if you actually plug the Claw in, it pretty much locks at 60 frames per second. So you don't see some of the frame rate dips that we saw in the video, particularly in the very last part of it. All of that stuff, if you're plugged in, stays 60 frames per second entirely. But on battery, you're going to get a little bit more variation in the frame rate because the system's allowed to pull a little bit more power when it's plugged in, unlike the Steam Deck, which is locked at whatever you set it at, whether it's plugged in or not. So you do get a pretty good experience with Everspace 2 on the Claw. Of the two, I prefer playing Everspace 2 on the Claw for the simple reason that I prefer the frame rate to be closer to 60 for a space sim, if I can get it. And the joysticks on the Claw are actually really good for this sort of thing. So these nice Hall effect sticks here, the Claw has gotten a lot of bad press, and honestly, for the price they released it at, it should have gotten a lot of bad press. So, but at the lower price, I really like the joysticks on the Claw. I think so far they're my favorite of any of the PC handhelds that I've tried. They did a pretty good job on this. The bumper buttons I'm not so fond of, but everything else is pretty good. Particularly the joysticks for a space sim on the Claw are really good. All that said, you can certainly play Everspace 2 on either one of these handhelds, and I think you will get a satisfactory experience here. I prefer playing this on the Claw, but if I didn't have the Claw and you asked me would I enjoy playing this game on the Steam Deck, I certainly would say yes, I would enjoy playing this on the Steam Deck. I'd like a little bit more frames per second, but other than just not being able to achieve 60 consistently, you can do it a little bit lower and still have a relatively smooth experience. So this is Everspace 2 on the Claw and the Steam Deck. I will probably be trying out more games on these handhelds and doing some gameplay videos. If you like this content, remember to leave a like. If you want to see more handheld and gaming content, remember to subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Comment sections are always open. And I will see you next video.